It's TDS Radio, your girl so fab, Coach Block here, and you guys know what it is. It's Friday, and we have our sexy
Oh,
educator in the building, Miss Tyranikia Chappell, the
hey
one
y'all.
and
There I go.
only.
Don't act like that. You knew the minute this thing went, I look. Because I can see me for real, for
Can you
real.
not look at yourself? Thank you. We are live.
I don't know about that.
Camera.
Yes.
Look at the camera or Kim. Do not stare at your damn self. It is
Amen.
obvious that you're looking at yourself.
But I'm pretty as fuck. I can't help it.
Girl, this is your show.
I know, shit.
But try not to look at the camera.
Okay, I'm going to look over here. Hey, everybody.
What will we be talking about today, lovely?
Oh, today we'll talk about anxiety, how it shows up in life, but also referring it to the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So many people deal with different things like performance anxiety
Mm-hmm.
or just anxiety. So when it comes to self-pleasure. So we're just going to talk about that. And as a matter of fact, Miss Joy Long, we have back here. You can come right on in. And we are
Studio
live.
applause.
Yes. So we're going to give Miss Joy a moment to take and introduce herself. Ooh, you want to just...
Okay.
Oh, hold up. Wait. She just a second.
Just need my water.
Yes, y'all.
My first time doing this.
Wait a second.
To set up a little bit.
Oh, take your time.
Oh,
Highly
honey.
distracted, so I need some notes to ground me.
Oh, honey,
as
you are
well.
just fine.
But okay.
Can we hear with the mic? Because the mic needs to be close.
No, so what y'all can do is just go ahead and do your introduction. We'll take a quick break. We'll get her comfortable, and then we can
Okay.
come right back.
All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
So, Kim, if you want to set that break up,
All right. So
because we got viewers. So,
okay. So we will be right back with our sexy educator, Sex Unbanned show with anxiety and sexual health, correct?
Ooh, yes, right. That's
All
right.
right. All right. It's TDS Radio. It's TDS Radio. Your girl so fab, Coach Block here. We're in the middle of our Sex Unbanned show with our favorite sexy educator,
Hi.
Tyranikia Chappell. And we also have our guest. Would you like to introduce her, please?
Yes, Miss
Hello.
Joy Long. Well, we're going to let Miss Joy introduce herself.
Yes. Well, I want to say it's an honor to be here with you guys. I always really appreciate to take moments to connect with other Black and brown body folks. And
Yeah.
to talk about mental health and to talk about the stuff that you're doing, which I believe is God's work to get us
Okay.
free and reconnected to ourselves. Because
Yes,
when we are
ma'am.
reconnected to ourselves, we can then connect with one another. And
Right.
so I'm really grateful to like just hold space tonight.
Oh,
Thank you, sis.
didn't I
So
say
anyway.
she was the shit? I told you, Joy, which I was like, oh my God, I want to know her.
This is new for me too, so y'all, everyone bear with me. But so my name is Joy. I am a holistic psychotherapist. I'm located here in Durham, and for the most part, my practice is virtual. I do see some folks in person doing something called ecotherapy, and so I'm taking folks out into this BIPOC land collective, and we're going out into the forest, into the tree house, sitting under the sun, and like healing through nature. And so doing that, the principles that guide my work are liberation, love, and joy. My interests are embodied healing, and so like helping people again reconnect with themselves, trauma healing, relationships, how we can access pleasure, again, ecotherapy, parenting. And so, yeah, I'm just like grateful to be here and talk about a little bit like what I see and what I know.
Oh, yeah. Love it. I'm so happy you were able to take and join the space and give us a whole lot of all this knowledge and love that you have to offer. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, girl. So how do you want to kick it off? Do you have your 2 questions, or are we going straight into the topic?
Actually, no, I just kind of wanted to see if you had any questions just now, because the questions I had, they were a little off. I was like, not the day, Jesus. Not the day, y'all.
Well, for the sake of time and for your guests, I think we should just jump right into it.
Okay.
So first and foremost, when we think of anxiety, there's a lot of definitions,
Right.
a lot of symptoms where people may misplace that and not necessarily know if it is anxiety or if it's a panic attack or depression or whatever have you. So can we kind of essentially talk about that first before we jump into, I guess, the bedroom?
Right, absolutely. So yeah.
Do you want to start?
Oh, no, we're gonna let you start,
Okay,
because
I
I want you
didn't
to
know
be
if
able to explain exactly, as Kim said, what anxiety is and what it may look like.
Yeah. So one of the things that is really important for me in my work is this value around like destigmatizing mental health, and like helping us understand that we all experience some level of mental health issues, just because like that's just the nature of being human and interacting and navigating this world. And so anxiety is an emotion that is like a universal experience, right? It's a universal emotion. Like we all are going to have some experience with anxiety at some point in our lives, right? And the number one reason for that is because we all have a body. And because we have a body, we have a nervous system. And the nervous system is like our body's command center, right? It's the thing that is responsible for our bodily functions and processes. And the brain is the powerhouse of the nervous system. And so when it comes to anxiety, right? Anxiety is our brain's way of alerting us that there's potential danger around. It's the thing that helps communicate that we need to like mobilize and go into action, like get into warrior mode, do whatever we need to do to like meet the moment to fight against some type of threats. And sometimes that could be the perception of a threat, but the body's perceiving threat. And once the threat is removed, our bodies will go back to a state of like homeostasis, which is also called balance. And so like we all go through those processes. The thing about anxiety is, you know, though that's a very natural occurrence, right? Like there's a threat, our brain will communicate the threat and therefore will try to mobilize. When we find that we are navigating systems and environments and spaces where our bodies actually don't feel a sense of safety, then we can find ourselves stuck in cycles of anxiety. And that is usually what turns into anxiety disorder, if that makes sense. And so like there's different presentations. Anxiety, I believe, is an indicator of a spirit that's disconnected from itself. It's been pulled like up and out of connection with itself. And there's different manifestations of anxiety. So we're going to look at the presentation of anxiety. It is something that basically it's a fear-based process in the body, right? And so when that happens, when the body's perceiving and sensing fear, it's going to generate feeling states of uneasiness, of dread, of anticipating like threats. And when that happens, you know, there's all types of like physiological experiences that our body will have. There's a whole range of them. So when we are experiencing anxiety in the body, we can feel like our bodies can be bracing. So there's a lot of tension in the body. We can be clenching our jaws. We can have headaches. We can have, of course, like butterflies in the stomach, knots in the gut. We can have headaches. We can have like dizziness, and you know, there's many different things that can, because the anxiety process is something that like it puts our organs into overdrive. Right. And so another thing that happens, especially for prolonged states of anxiety, we will have issues with like high blood pressure and things like and different chronic health issues. And so it kicks those systems up as well. So that's like the presentation like of anxiety. I feel like a great depiction for anxiety is like, are y'all Winnie the Pooh fans? Do you remember Piglet and how neurotic Piglet is? And
you know what? That's a good. I like
right,
this.
Like,
this for
like very frantic, like worried, just cannot settle down.
Right, right.
Or even like the rabbit and like I have a 6-year-old, so I'll be watching all of these movies. But the rabbit and Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was a very like neurotic and like anxious. Yeah, just could not settle. Always got somewhere to go. Right.
With time and the rabbit. I'm like, we're late.
You know
we gotta
what?
go.
Right, like could never like always gotta be on. Always gotta be on.
That's why I told her. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like I feel like that's a great presentation of anxiety. I'm trying to think in the minds, when you think about the anxious minds, right? Like it impacts our body, the physical body with the physiology, like it's the spiritual component. And then in the anxious mind, we feel things like rumination, right? Keep replaying something, catastrophizing something, right? Like making big leaps, you know, making a mountain out of a molehill type of thinking. Of course, is worrying. There's difficulty concentrating and focusing. Is again, it's really hard to, and our mind is future oriented. And anxiety, like even in that we're fully, even if we aren't fully conscious of it, our brain is constantly thinking about like what is the next thing to come. That can feel really unsettling within our bodies. And so like that is the anxious mind. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else to offer around the presentation. We got the minds, we have the body, and we have the spirit.
So then let me
how
ask
does that
you
feel?
this. When it comes to someone who's having an anxiety attack, how do they even get to that stage to where they feel like their body is just about to shut down and they can't control it?
Anxiety attacks are a buildup of like anxiety and like not really processing it over time is like the most severe form of anxiety when a person has like all this, like these feelings of fear, of dread, where they feel disconnected from themselves, where they can have the heart palpitations. I didn't name that, but there's so many different like presentations of anxiety, but that is like anxiety at its like worst in its worst form.
Gotcha.
And like that's where you can often feel like you are facing death. Like is that scary, right? Because it feels like a chest. Oftentimes people describe like I feel like I'm having a heart attack. There's tightness in my chest, like I feel like I'm going to die. And so that's usually in the severe spectrum of just unresolved, unmanaged anxiety.
Well, it's funny you say that. Well, not funny, but it's good that you say that, because then we can take and relate that to spaces where you are in, let's say, intimate moments, right? And you're with your person, and if somebody is having a panic attack in that moment, it doesn't necessarily have to be from sexual abuse. It can be just maybe having a bad experience or just something, again, because with anxiety, there may not be a specific thing. It could be multiple things. It could be that you hit me, and as a child, it was very traumatic, and somebody did one thing and remind you of that moment. So now you're in a space where you are tense, the chest is tightening, and this person is, you're with your person. It's like, okay, what do you do? And in moments like that, being able to articulate or find a space to articulate, right, how you're feeling. And it may be hard to do that, again, especially if you are just stuck and you can't do anything. And this is why, we talk about all the time of communication and being able to communicate in ways that's not necessarily verbal. So with your person, telling them, hey, like if I'm touching you a certain type of way, then something else is wrong because I may not be able to talk in that moment. So I love that you mentioned that, talking about actually, like I said, freezing, because I overheard. So I was having a conversation with somebody, and something that she told me was, with her is her anxiety is related from religious practices, right?
Yeah.
And something she said was, she can't do missionary because, or she has a problem in missionary position because she feels like the person is looking directly at her and she's not too comfortable with that. Like she feels guilty sometimes, like she's doing something wrong. So
she's taking that from what she's learned in the church.
Well, she didn't really go into too much detail as to what the experience was. And of course, I did not ask because moments like that is your experience to share whenever you are ready. So she just said particularly missionary was a difficult position for her. And like I said, the thing you was talking about, freezing, chest feeling like it's tightening and not being able to move.
Yeah.
But with her, the experience that she shared was she was with somebody, she was having a hard time articulating that. So she couldn't tell this person to stop. So in that moment, the person, they are unaware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So they're continuing to, continue to play, but they're not realizing that she's in panic at this moment.
Right.
And then once it started to subside, she got to a space where she was like, we just have to stop. And she cried. And I just, well, of course I hugged her, after, explaining all of that. But the person that she was with, they didn't even know how to respond. And she said to them, that was the person a couple weeks later, they didn't talk for a while. They came back and told her that they actually, it was a traumatic experience for them. Like they didn't know. So it's like, but again, anxiety. So, and she told me they hadn't talked after that person expressed that it was a traumatic experience for them. I just thought to myself, now, does that give that person anxiety? How does that show up in their sex life now?
Now, before you go into that, we got to take a quick break because I want to break that down a little bit and ask both of you questions regarding just that scenario and maybe even other people who may have had something like that.
Right.
But we got to take a quick break. So make sure you guys keep it locked right here. It
bye,
is
y'all.
TDS. Well, not bye.
Why not me? Bye. Well, how about this? Be right back, y'all. I don't like her
TDS
like that.
Radio. Our
brother.
voice, our culture.
Why you look like
It's
that?
TDS. TDS Radio. Oh, we're waiting for our cue, Kia. You gotta wait for your cue, man.
Oh.
CDS Radio, our voice, our culture. So Fab Kim, Coach Block, Tyraniki, and Chappell, who we're gonna have to teach about cues.
Oh, dang! I guess I'm still uncivilized, y'all. Excuse me.
No, just new. You're a little green to it. That's okay.
Okay. I told her earlier she was real rude. She was nice. She look at her. She just trying to gather me right fast and then be like, "Girl, get it together. Don't touch me.
Y'all kids.
Don't touch me."
Bam! We have a guest.
She know.
So before we took a break, we were talking a little bit about anxiety, what it is exactly, and then what are some of the things that you might notice in yourself or identify when it comes to anxiety, because sometimes people confuse it or they'll say it jokingly, you know, like, oh, I have anxiety, and it's like, that's not what that is. And then we kind of got a little bit into anxiety in the bedroom. So my question is, when it comes to the bedroom and you're dealing with someone who has anxiety, or they might not be aware of how severe the anxiety is, they might not know, you know, what's setting them off, and their partner doesn't know, how do you find that balance, or where do you begin to start the communication when that person doesn't know, and of course the partner doesn't know because they don't know?
Well, it's going to start with the person, like the person who has the anxiety. They're going to have to find a space to at least articulate that they have anxiety before they can even identify what it looks like, because the partner on the receiving end is nothing much they can do besides be supportive in whatever way that they may see fit.
I mean, I feel like this is, you know, a really interesting like topic, because oftentimes we fast forward and we fast track getting to the physical before we really actually take the steps in the process to really develop and build a sense of intimacy and true connection. Like, anxiety it's a natural process, and it's also language of the body. And so it's one of those things, is offering biofeedback to something that doesn't feel right. And so a person has difficulty accessing pleasure and accessing like connection and bringing someone into their own sexual experience if they don't feel connected and safe with their body. And so I'm always curious about, well, I mean, did y'all talk about it beforehand? Like, did you, you know, like, and to your point, you were talking about, you know, we all have, you know, our bodies, and it has different like stories and stories of pain. It could be from, you know, religion. It can be from sexual trauma, sexual health stuff. It can be from, you know, concepts and stuff around desirability and body image. It could be like white supremacy, patriarchy, like our own personal, like there's so many different things and stories that our bodies like carry and hold. And so when they're coming together and joining with another body, it's like, how do we, like, first and foremost, like, have I actually been able to like listen to those stories of my body before bringing someone else into this, right? Like, have I actually, and like, do I tend to these parts of my being, right? These parts that hold anxiety,
right,
with care, with listening, with slowness. And so essentially, you know, it's more so before we actually engage into, you know, something physical, what if the anxiety is trying to ask you or try to communicate to you to slow down, to talk to one another before you actually engage physically? And so that's what I hear, is like a body that isn't comfortable and it was triggered. So it's like all those things all those stories you bring into the bedroom, of course there's going to be some type of anxiety that's going to be triggered.
Right.
But how do you have enough self-awareness of where you can identify those things, name those things before you enter this really sacred like space of sharing one another and each other's bodies? Like, can you actually talk and name and be vulnerable enough to say like, hey, this is a thing, and can we talk about like what consent looks like for me? Like, can we talk about what my needs are? Can we talk about like what, you know, like what the root of my fear and stuff is? And so like, I think that is first and foremost, like that's foundational before you enter something physical.
Well, absolutely. I agree with that. But then we also have to take and identify also what type of relationship are we talking about? Because if we're in a space where somebody is just hooking up, then you're not going to be in the space to explain those things. Now, I will say this. I think those spaces should still be held, even if it's not your person that you're committed to or plan to be committed to. Like, you still can have that conversation, because sex in any form, in any activity, should be pleasurable. Not can be. No, that shit should be pleasurable.
Should be. Yeah.
So with that being said, as an individual, you should still take time for self. And as you were saying, because if that's the case, if you're feeling if your body is communicating to you that there is something going on with somebody else, do you take the time to pay attention to that when you're in moments by yourself experiencing self-pleasure? Because you can have anxiety while masturbating.
For sure.
In moments where somebody may be in midst of almost reaching orgasm, but you just cannot get there. But your mind is somewhere else. That's your body reacting to some stimuli. So if you aren't acknowledging that with yourself, then, like, as to your point, being able to sit back and connect with you, talk to you, feel and deeply be rooted with you,
right?
To communicate that to yourself before you communicate that with somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, I feel like a very big problem that we have, especially Black people, being able to really sit with self and connect with self, like in spaces, especially when it comes to sex. Like I was saying about the lady, the story that she shared with me, even in that space, she still hadn't thought about it. And as I'm talking, I'm thinking about the video I told you about, the guy I saw, the clip.
Oh yeah.
When the guy was he said live that he had been molested, but he did not associate what happened to him as molestation. He said as just a quick of what the video was. The young man was like, at 8 years old, he was going to the neighbor's house. The neighbor gave him orange juice and PlayStation, but the girl would take and lift up her breast and she would instruct him to suck on her titties. And when the gentleman that was along with him in the podcast is like, I'm so sorry, like he was molested. He was like, no, I wasn't. That's not what I said. But he didn't associate that again, that's exactly what happened to him. So how does that show up in his relationships? It's funny because one of the hosts, they asked him like, well, how do you feel about that when you having sex? But it was quickly bypassed. And I wished that would have been something that was said, because it was 3 Black men that was talking, which I thought was absolutely beautiful, right?
Absolutely.
So, but like I said, going back to your point, like him not knowing that, and if he's not connected with himself, because I won't say he's not, because of course I don't know the man, but if he's not connected with self, how does he show up in the bedroom with women?
Yeah.
And that was going to be one of the questions I asked both of you. When it comes to anxiety, can that prevent you from actually achieving some sort of release when it comes to orgasm or just pleasure or anything? Can it be a mental block to where you just can't get there?
Oh yeah, because of the mind, the body, and the spirit are not connected, then what is supposed to happen, or what are the results of all of this is not going to come about. If your mind is, especially as women, we are mental beings. So if our mind is somewhere else doing this space, then our body is not going to follow. Of course, you'll continue to lubricate, because your body is made to lubricate when something is about to penetrate. Like your body does what it's supposed to do, but the spirit and the mind is not there. And when all entities are connected, yes, orgasms are fucking amazing. Excuse my French. I wasn't supposed to say that because I forgot we on the radio. We ain't just loud no more. I can't curse, Joe. I forgot.
I mean, I was just like, yes, I agree that you must be like connected with self to be able to achieve something as pleasurable as the orgasm. And I also think in the journey of being able to, because like, orgasms, whether that is, self-stimulated or shared with another individual, again, it's sacred and it can be transcendental, right? Like these things can be extremely healing and it can like awaken erotic power within us. And so, and also it is something really important to, again, if the anxiety is there, you don't feel safe. So how do you connect with yourself? Sometimes we have such an emphasis on, you were talking about performance, on the outcome of reaching an orgasm. And it's really about, can I just mindfully like delight in myself and delight in you? And if we reach the orgasm, wonderful. But can we actually like build, this is my take and like what I see, but like, can we actually build again, like intimacy and like, and also kind of like disarm and kind of deconstruct how we just like relate to each other in the physical. And so like, what if we actually removes the orgasm? We know that can be part of the journey, but that doesn't have to be the thing that we focus on.
Because it's not the pleasure. Like, of course, the orgasm is pleasurable, but pleasure should be had in all the experiences, not just the orgasm. It's the kissing, it's the touching, it's the looking, it's the breathe. Like it's everything we're doing. All of that should be pleasurable, and then the orgasm is just a byproduct of what you was doing. Like,
very on top,
because like it's, and especially like a really good orgasm, it's the build up. Oh my god,
that's a good point to stress, especially to the people who are listening and to the viewers, is that when people focus so much, like you said, on the end result, that it takes away the pleasure, but focusing on the pleasure that's coming with it. and that is just the end result of what we've been doing, that would probably take a lot of, you know, the pressure off of, I got to make sure that this person,
right? Like we're not in service of people, right? Like we're sharing one another, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It can be playful, it can be awkward, it could be all the things. But like, it's not
because it's pleasure in everything that you're doing, even the craziest stuff. Like, but I think, and also too, that we have to identify what pleasure is as your own person.
And before you go into that, that was going to be one of my next questions. We got to take a quick break. So make sure you guys keep it right here. We're talking sex and anxiety right here on TDS Radio. It's our voice, our culture.
But it match my dress.
TDS Radio.
Oh, why you ain't say that?
We are back.
Oh, I can't do it now.
With
make it big so I can see me again. Y'all there you go.
Unbanned show with our sexy educator.
They want me to look at myself. I was like, I'm pretty as fuck. I forgot I said it again. Dang. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, radio people.
We're back live.
Oh, yeah. Hey, y'all. What's up?
Sex and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And where we left off, we were just talking about how people focus so much on just the orgasm when it comes to performance, where that leaves a lot of anxiety in the bedroom because everyone just focused on, I got to get to the end goal, but not focusing on the pleasure at hand that leads to it. And sometimes people just relax. You'll get there, but you're focusing on getting there.
But you got to think about the conversations that are had around sex with individuals, right? So if you're told that is what it's supposed to be about, then that's what you're going to do. Because sometimes people can be goal oriented. Right. So if your goal is to reach, so if your goal is to actually have the orgasm, you're going to focus on that. Like, think about it. For example,
it's
like
the whole culture we live in.
Right, exactly.
Instant gratification.
Literally. I'm one of them people because I be like, I like the online shop. This is sidebar. I like the online shop. I be mad as hell, like, damn, where this damn package at? I'm checking online. It's saying Tuesday.
It's still in California,
girl. Then don't let me on FedEx. You ain't ever getting that package. If FedEx deliver you, mama, go ahead and call somebody to get your money back.
Speaking of sidebar,
I know.
Why does FedEx act like they can't knock on nobody's door?
Girl, they were like, here, throw it. Next
and run. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. I'm sorry. Shout out to
I
FedEx
said we did it.
If they want to sponsor them,
you know we love FedEx. Right, y'all?
Back to the topic at hand.
But yeah, so like you said, the culture that we are in, instant gratification. So that plays a major role. But again, I also feel that if we're gonna, I'll specify, especially Black families. Like I shared my sex education story with people. They laugh all the time. I laugh about it now too, but certain parts of sex and just sexuality were not a part of that. My grandmother told me what sex was, and how she told me was I got my first period. I came home and my grandma, she said, you got your period? I said, yeah. She said, oh, all right. She said, don't let no little boy stick his hand in your corn purse. And I was like, what? And I got mad at my grandma, first of all, y'all. I got mad because I was like, how dare she think I let somebody steal from me? I did not associate that she was talking about my vulva. I was like, this ain't a thing. I'm gonna let some little boy put his hand in my purse and take my damn money. Oh, grandma, what's wrong with you? And of course, I would never tell her that because you know, in Black household, grandma says law. I don't give a damn how wrong she is the law. And you be like, yes, ma'am. I said, yes, ma'am. But I was really irritated. Like, how dare she think that? It took me some time later on to realize she was talking about my vulva.
Yeah.
And again, I thought like, okay, what did she have? So again, if we're in this space where we want instant gratification, but also our background and learning what sex is and how to achieve it, or just enjoying anything about it, like, or just enjoying life in general. Right. How do we have those conversations? How did those conversations happen with us? And that's a major part too, outside of us just wanting what we want. Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm spoiled as fuck. I want what I want. Yeah. I forgot I said it again. Dang. I'm trying, y'all. It's just
doing like liberation work right now. I mean, we do it's the instant gratification. We do live in a highly repressed, emotionally repressed, sexually repressed society. We haven't we're learning the tools and the skills of like how to have these conversations and how to break cycles around intimacy, around attachment, around connection, around these things. And so you're right. It's like, and we've been conditioned through like fear-based like stories and these constructs that are rooted in fear and a lot of other things. And so it's like we just have to kind of take a step back and look at like what's showing up in our bodies and how much of that like actually is reflective in our values and what we want and our essence and our authentic expression and what we desire. But like that takes this whole mindfulness and consciousness that when you're in an anxious state, it's hard to really embody and access because you're disconnected from self. Right. And so then therefore, what are the self-connecting rituals, tools, coping strategies you can deploy to help you return to yourself? And then like again, when you're connected to yourself, you can bring other people into that in whatever capacity, whatever way that looks like.
Right. So then let me ask you both this. When it comes to anxiety, some people might try to self-medicate, whether it is with some sort of drug, drinking or going out, spending money, whatever. Food, yes. Can they use sex?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. Because again, like to Joy's point, if you're not connected with self, you're just in this space trying to feel something.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, whether you're connected with yourself or not, energy is always transferable, whether that's good energy or bad energy. So if you're in a space, you're having sex with somebody, that's energy being transferred right there. Even in that moment, you feel something, you feel connected, you feel cared about. So that's why you keep going back and you keep doing it, especially if it's somebody who's toxic, who you know for a fact does not care for you, does not value you, doesn't bring anything to you, but they take but they're feeding something that you're missing. So yeah, you connect with that.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going back. So yeah, like sex is highly addictive. It can be depending on the person, especially if you're a person with an addictive personality, right? That can happen. So in that space, again, if you're not aware, and even, you know, to your point of, you know, connecting with self, if you're a person who's actually never been connected with yourself, like how do you go forward with that?
Yeah.
Like, what are those conversations that you have with yourself? Or maybe, you know, even if you're in a space with somebody who is connected with themselves and they can see this part of you and they're trying to help you, like, how do those conversations happen? Like, how do people find, or matter of fact, I'll ask you that. How can someone who is on the end, not the receiving end, but somebody who's just in that space where they've never been connected with themselves, and in a space with a person who is, and that person wants to help them, like, and what are some things that person can do to be receptive to what that person is trying to give them?
I mean, I feel like that's such a loaded question.
I know, huh?
there's many layers,
I know.
To that. I mean, I do think it boils down to some of the things I was saying earlier around like the vulnerability piece, but it's all about building trust, right? And like, I forget where I was, but like people talk about the concept of like at the speed of trust. And so trust is very slow. So what I'm hearing is just a person whose nervous system, whose body needs a lot of slowness, right? It's the opposite of like, let's go, can never really settle, orgasm, instant gratification, being blocked from self. It's like really slowing down and like mindfully being with like whatever's emerging internally and being able to like identify what those things are, give voice to what those things are, which it can be really hard if you never have been given the tools.
Right.
And so you may have someone that can see those things, but like your partner is not supposed to be your therapist either. And so like there's many levels to being able to build that type of self-awareness and that self-love and that self-connection that like can be fostered in a beautiful, you know, authentic, healthy relationship. And also, you know, there's other ways, you know, there's like going to therapy, there's like going out in nature. I believe nature is a beautiful place to remind us of like who we are. And like the medicine of earth like has these like healing properties that will bring us back into our body and help us release like certain toxic, you're talking about toxic, you know, energy, and help us come back to ourselves and like see ourselves as we truly are. And so like it awakens us, right? And then it grounds us. And so it's like there's multiple things that we can do holistically that can bring us back to ourselves.
Right.
Having really good friends, right? Being in community that's loving.
You
know, there's you know, reading books. But that person would need a lot of that before they could. I would just say they would need to move slowly and share that with their partner.
Right. But I like that you. Oh, sorry, I'm in the cut. But I like that you said that because even, you know, when you were saying, you know, moving slowly, but if a person is always in the space of moving fast, they don't really know what that really looks like. And I did want to say that too. Like, so that person is like, okay, I want to love you, I see you, but you're doing like you go through something that I can't take and push you through. However, that person's like this here, and it's like
scare me away,
right? And it can, but at the end of the day, that person also, I will say, also being mindful and showing that person some grace, because again, you can't do what you don't know,
right?
You just can't. Right. That's what I mean. You don't know what you don't know. So yeah, but like you get right.
So no, that's actually feeding off of what you were saying.
Okay.
Because some people with anxiety may find someone who's like, I want to give you all the love, I want to do everything, I want to please you, I want to do, and it's like, whoa.
That can, because usually one thing I did not name, because that right there is like it overwhelms the nervous system. And like it will trigger their flight response. Oftentimes you see people who are dealing with a lot of anxiety in their body. They have a lot of avoidant and flight response tendencies. And so that right there is like you're dealing with another kind of anxious person. And so it makes you be like, oh shoot, let me like push that away. And so like, yeah, it just takes a lot of dancing, a lot of slowness, a lot of talking, negotiating.
I love that you say that.
You know, that's part of that.
People are not good at negotiating. And I think a lot of people people have an issue with honesty, and I'm just gonna talk about personal experience because I'm a type of person. I'm gonna be very honest. You're like, look, I like this. I'm like this. You ain't got to do that. Like, and I like my space. I like who I am. I'm very aware of me.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of myself in spaces, whatever space that I'm in. So I'm able to take and adapt to spaces that with people.
Yeah.
So I've been in spaces with people where it's like I say something and it's like it's internalized, and then it's almost like I'm in bed. I'm like, no, like calm down. It's not what I mean. Like you're internalizing something. Like I was telling the thing with my friend, because I told her, I said, personally, I don't want to date somebody with kids.
Oh, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And I said she turned out. I was like, damn, why the freak is you mad? Because I don't want to date somebody with kids. They like I'm trying to hump on you. Like, what you mad? I know. I know. See, look, now they got peed off. Oh, we going on break. Good job, Katie.
Look at so cute.
Fuck up.
So, are we like? Is it on?
Oh no, yeah, we going. So you missed
We
that
have
part.
to take a break. We will be right back.
Oh, okay.
CDS Radio, our voice, our culture.
remember.
Y'all know what's up, say, girl. We better know.
We're back. TDS Radio, So Fab Kim, Coach Block, Nikki.
Why you giggling, Kim? Good grief. Cues, Kim. Cues.
You were on it, girl. You was on it.
You sound like cheese. Yes. And Kim, since she giggling over there,
You were
look.
on it this time.
Kim,
I'm proud of you, girl.
Get it together.
Oh, okay.
Cues,
I'm
Kim.
sorry.
Time, we got to go. We got stuff to do, Kim.
We got time. We got to run it up. So we're back. We are wrapping up our show, Sex and Anxiety.
Yes.
So one of the things that I definitely wanted you both to touch on was the fact of if someone hasn't communicated the fact that they deal with anxiety, and the other person, may see this person where they're tensing up, their jaws clenched, or they're just not enjoying it. What are some things that, number one, you can look for? Because people might just think, okay, this person's just being weird. We're just going to keep going. And then what do you do in that moment?
Well, that's another loaded question because that could go so many ways. For that person who's in the giving space, where are they really and truly? Are they connected with themselves and they are aware? Are they a person who checks in with their person while engaging in intimacy? So if you're not doing that and that's not something you practice, you're not going to be looking for signs because, again, you're goal-oriented to have the orgasm. So you're just going. For somebody to be able to identify if something's wrong with their partner. I mean, if that person didn't have that conversation with them, again, you don't know, like you said, it could just be, you may think that's like them clenching their jaw, that could be their sex face. So you just don't, that's a hard thing. It really just goes back to Joy's point, like that person on the receiving end, they at some point are going to have to identify with themselves and be able to articulate that to that person. There's no way really for you to know exactly this person, something's wrong, unless it's like something drastic, like they're not breathing. You can physically tell like something's really wrong, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's a tough one. There's like multiple things to consider. But I think it goes back to what you're saying. And like, in the attachment world, there is this like concept to be able to co-regulate, in which essentially engaging in sexual activity is a form of co-regulation, right? It's two nervous systems coming together and regulating each other, right? Like calming each other through like the connection. But they say to be able to do that, you have to be able to be self-regulated. So that goes back to being self-aware. And when you are self-regulated and self-aware, you have like the capacity to be able to track someone else's nervous system to see the things that are happening, like maybe some shaking, like maybe some checking out, like maybe some like palpitations that maybe you can feel, like maybe it's like their speech and the way that they're talking. I mean, there's so many different ways that sometimes it's like someone just like freezing up, like deer in the headlights, right? There's different ways that anxiety can manifest itself. And when you see that, offering kindness, presence, like, hey, I'm seeing this is really challenging for you. Like, I'm noticing your body's doing this. Like, are you okay? Like, I'm here with you. And really just like joining that person in a way where they don't feel shamed, but they feel like seen and connected. And just like, we all want someone to like sit with us, like when we're in pain. So can you just like, do you have the capacity to kind of join someone and honor their process and witness it without like taking it on,
right?
But like helping them know that it's okay and really moving slowly. But that takes like two conscious individuals coming together and like doing their work, which is possible. Like that's the reason why we having these conversations. Right. But I do believe like that is foundational.
Oh yeah, it's definitely possible. And again, but we're, like you said, we're creating these spaces now so people will have a talking point to be able to say, hey, I saw this or I heard this and maybe I can do this. So yeah.
So before we get out of here, will you allow your guests to let people know where they can find her?
Oh yeah, everybody to find Joy. She's amazing. Everybody. Where can they find you, Joy?
I would love to connect. Hit me up on my Instagram, Whole with Joy, or you can find me, check out my website, wholewithjoy.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joy. I appreciate you. You really do have a very good spirit.
I thought she's like a warm hug. Just
yes,
like, oh my God, I love Joy. So I hug her.
Like,
Joy.
Chill, but
so here for you.
I love it though. Like for real, it's just like,
And do you know what your show is going to be the week after next?
Oh, I have not decided because I'm still collaborating with somebody to see if they'll be able to come through and join the conversation.
Well, let everyone know where you're going to be April 1st.
April 1st, y'all. We get ready to have some fun. Yes, I know you're not going to be here. Shame on you, Jordan. I don't like you now. I like him a little
Next
bit.
time.
It'll be a place. Anyway, like I was saying, y'all. So April 1st, I am going to be at Uncorked Riley. And I am doing a workshop where we're talking about sex toys, but not sex toys just from pleasure, but how to use them, makeup of the toys, safety, cleaning, lubricants, allergies, all the fundamentals of self-pleasure and pleasure with your person when you have add-ons, right? Because that's what toys, lubricants, all these things are their add-ons. So we're going to talk about those things, and you can go ahead and get your tickets at uncorkedriley.com. You got 2 ticket options. Both tickets get you a glass of wine, but however, 1 ticket gets you a glass of wine and entry to winning a toy. So y'all come outside and cut up with me. Come outside and come inside.
I like what you did there.
I'm nasty, ain't I, friend?
I like what you did there.
I'm gonna say it again. Come outside and come inside.
And let everyone know how they can follow you.
Yes, so y'all looking for me because I know y'all love me, right? You can find me on Instagram at _sexy_education. Now I fucking go my fine ass. Yes, _sexy_education. Y'all look, send me DMs, questions. The questions I got this week, y'all, I was not gonna ask them. And y'all should be ashamed of yourself for that bullshit y'all sent me, first of all. However, anybody else again, ask me the questions. Girl, it was crazy. I'm not saying it out loud. Spontaneous come back. She said, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Anyway, y'all, I'll tell you after you get off of y'all. But yeah, contact me. You got anything to say? Of course, you know I'm gonna talk to you. I'll answer questions that should be asked. And yeah, so I'll see y'all later.
And thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you. Thank you, Joy. Thank you.
Do we have any? I know. Don't say it like, hold up.
Thank you, because it's always a good time when you're here.
I need you. That was shady.
It wasn't shady.
It was palmy.
I would have told you it was.
No. It was palmy.
Thank you.
I felt
TDS
the
Radio, our voice, our culture.
Why she just